Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Have you ever, just looked in the mirror and felt like the person looking back at you is somehow wrong? Well, today we are diving into a really deeply complex reality, body image distress. We're going to look at how this deep dissatisfaction with our physical appearance, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It's literally created, shaped, and massively amplified by external voices and these totally impossible cultural standards.
Okay, let's dive right into this. So what actually happens when your own reflection becomes a cage? We live in a society that pushes these relentless beauty standards, amplifying this all-too-common tendency for people to body shame. And let's be real, certain industries, think fashion, entertainment, fitness, they have this dangerously low tolerance for anyone who deviates even slightly from a really narrow path of acceptable weight, height, race, or hair types. Under that crushing weight, the mirror stops being just a simple reflection and basically transforms into a prison.
Just look at this quote right here. It's pulled straight from cognitive behavioral research on body dysmorphic disorder. If my nose is crooked, I am unlovable. Wow. That really hits the nail on the head regarding the emotional stakes, doesn't it? We are not talking about vanity here. When your environment is constantly screaming that your worth is tied to some impossible standard, your internal working model of self-worth becomes totally fractured. Minor perceived flaws, they get catastrophized into massive personal failures.
Section 1. The Impossible Set Mold. How Society Builds the Mirror.
So to really understand how society builds this mirror, let's check out the baseline definition from the National Eating Disorders Association. Body image is one's subjective perception, feelings, and physical experience of their own body. Now, the key word there is absolutely subjective. Because of our deeply human, hardwired need to fit in, we are incredibly susceptible to external messaging. We end up internalizing an external locus of evaluation, and that makes our body image highly vulnerable to being completely distorted by toxic environments.
Section 2. Dysmorphia versus gender dysmorphia, the critical difference in perception.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound difference in perception between these two specific conditions. Over on the left, you've got body dysmorphic disorder, or BDD. This is a perceptual distortion, a true obsession with perceived or imagined physical flaws. It's that funhouse mirror effect we're talking about. But on the right side, gender dysphoria, that is absolutely not a distortion. It is a very realistic perception of a mismatch between an individual's internal gender identity and their assigned biological sex. They know exactly what they look like, right? The distress actually comes from the physical reality not aligning with who they inherently are.
All right, Section 3, Building the Funhouse Mirror, the roots of the distortion.
Research shows us that this distortion is essentially a huge, complex matrix of nature and nurture. On the biological side, we're seeing factors like serotonin dysregulation, or hyperactivity in the brain's fear center, the amygdala, and even inefficiencies in white matter that basically cause this intense hyperfixation on tiny visual details. But then, you combine that with the environmental side. Traumatic stuff like cyberbullying, toxic diet culture, and highly curated, heavily filtered social media feeds. Together, this biology and environment mashup creates a vicious, totally self-sustaining cycle.
Moving on to Section 4. The Trap of Reassurance. How loved ones can help without harming.
If you're watching this explainer right now and thinking of someone you love who struggles with their body image, this part is for you. It's a completely natural human instinct to want to comfort someone, right? But here's the catch. Offering cosmetic reassurance actually backfires. It totally fuels that BDD compulsion loop. Look at the left side. If you just say, "You look totally fine, you're just being hard on yourself," you're actually trapping them in a cycle of seeking constant validation. Instead, try offering boundaried support. Like the example on the right, I don't want to keep feeding this spiral. I want to help you find a way out of it. You have to validate their emotional pain, not their physical appearance.
So, the crucial point is, and honestly, this is a staggering statistic, only 5% of BDD patients actually feel better after getting cosmetic surgery. 5%. In a lot of cases, the distress just worsens, or it just shifts to a totally new perceived flaw. Why does that happen? Because the issue is purely perceptual and psychological. It is not physical. You simply cannot physically fix a psychological distortion.
Section 5, Embracing Body Neutrality, Shattering the Mirror.
Now, over on the left, you've probably all heard of the body positivity movement, right? The one that demands this kind of unconditional love for your appearance. But let's be honest, for someone in deep distress, that requires exhausting, constant emotional labor. It's just too much. But body neutrality, over on the right, offers a really different path. It accepts the body exactly as it is. It focuses entirely on the body's function without attaching any sort of moral value to how it looks. It's honestly a much more sustainable and way more forgiving approach for your long-term mental health.
Let's move to the next slide and see how this builds into daily actionable steps to rebuild what we call body compassion. First off, shift your focus. Instead of judging your arms, appreciate that they actually help you carry groceries or hug the people you love. Focus on function. Second, you've got to curate your media. Ruthlessly unfollow any accounts that trigger those negative comparisons. Just get rid of them. And third, practice mindful self-compassion. Treat yourself with the exact same kindness you'd automatically give to a really good friend.
Section 6. Expanding your self-esteem pie. Reclaiming your worth.
And this brilliantly illustrates a super important concept. When someone is trapped in body distress, the appearance slice feels like it basically takes up their entire self-worth pie. But a core cognitive behavioral therapy technique is intentionally shrinking that slice by actively growing all the other beautiful parts of your identity. Cultivate your skills, celebrate your achievements, honor your moral values, and really invest heavily in your relationships. When you do that, suddenly, appearance is just one tiny fraction of a much larger, way more interesting person.
As clinical psychology experts constantly remind us, the goal isn't perfection, it's freedom. Evidence-based treatments like CBT offer a really solid, scientifically proven way out of that funhouse mirror. You absolutely do not have to be trapped by culturally constructed, profit-driven lies about what a set mold of a body should look like. True healing begins the second you completely decouple your sense of belonging from your physical appearance.
I'll leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Will you continue to let an external locus of evaluation treat your body as just an object to be evaluated, or will you finally embrace it as an incredible instrument for living? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gave you a brand new lens to view yourself and others through. Keep questioning, keep learning, and above all else, please show yourself a little grace today.